So, I want to talk about something called buyer fatigue. Something that maybe some people don't think about when boxes get super expensive for especially very modern stuff. It's something to really think about and something to take in consideration when you're deciding to buy some of these products at these price points, like I said, especially new releases. So, just a quick definition, this is not like an education class, but buyer fatigue refers to the exhaustion and emotional weariness experienced by individuals during a prolonged or frustrating buying process, often in markets with high competition or limited inventory, which is obviously what we're facing right now with Pokemon, limited inventory, high prices. So that's where buyer fatigue is sort of, relevant in the conversation with Pokemon. Now, I want to use this, and this whole, day is about talking about Destin rivals, things to think about. But buyer fatigue is a real thing in Pokemon. There's only, so much people are willing to pay for Pokemon products. It's a thing. I know there's people that will say, all people buy whatever, everything's hyped up, and all this stuff, but that's not true because there are price points where these products hit because people are like, okay, at this price point, I'm going to slow down buying, or maybe not going to buy anymore because it's too expensive, and we see, stagnations and stuff, and prices will eventually go up because people get used to it. People will buy, and then eventually, yeah, just natural things will go up, but there can be prolonged periods of time where buyer fatigue sets in, and that's why for some sets, even the most hyped up ones we've seen so far in Scarlet and Violet, they hit walls and they don't grow exponentially anymore because buyer fatigue sets in. And I just want to use a couple examples here, showing you guys some of these very popular sets from Scarlet and Violet that have seen some buyer fatigue, where prices haven't just skyrocketed anymore because they're already so expensive. And I want to use this sort of with, I guess, Destin rivals and talking about how buying at these high price points, something to think about is buyer fatigue. So, Prismatic Evolutions right now is at 140. I talk about it all the time. I'm still surprised that in the past month, you can see here, prices have done nothing. And this set is especially surprising that in the past month things have not gone up at all, because when you look at the actual value in this set, it is so far beyond anything in this era. I don't even know if there's a set that's even like $4,000 in total set value. There might be one maybe close to 2,000. I'm not exactly sure. The only ones I could think about even being close, I think, is it? I can't even think of any. I don't think anything's close. I think the most expensive other set might be around 1,500. I can't think of anything even being around 2,000, to be honest. So this being like so much more expensive than anything we've seen, the fact that in the past month prices haven't done anything, to me is still crazy, but it shows something. Buyer fatigue. People at 140 believe, okay, this is too expensive, and generally that's where some people may stop, buying. Maybe more people will list, and why we're seeing this set in where past month we haven't seen anything happening because it's expensive. But still, this set, most expensive set in Scarlet and Violet by far, even with this being the most hyped up thing in the past month, hasn't done anything because buyer fatigue is a real thing. It, like I said, people will adjust. It will go up in time, sure, but that's something to think about with Destin rivals. If you think you can just automatically flip this stuff, if it's super expensive, it's possible people will stop buying at certain price points, and things may not go up as much as you might think. So Prismatic, I feel like, is a perfect example showing that the sealed product at a certain price point, it's hit this where it hasn't gone up. Now, at one point, when it did go down from the release, it went all the way from 150 to 100, we saw a huge rebound in price because at this point, people were willing to pay $100 because people said it was worth it. But at 140, people are a little bit more hesitant, even though there's strong sales, prices haven't moved up. So moving on, Surging Sparks. Surging Sparks, it's sort of another example of buyer fatigue, and also just generally it's not as hyped up because this was released, I think at this point, was it like 5-6 months ago? This did have a price point at around 170. Recently it has seen some downturn, obviously, because it's not the most hyped up thing anymore. And we have this reprint, information coming, and just generally also, just the cards haven't been going down. That's another reason why this set, other than just buyer fatigue, things have sort of settled down because the set Pikachu's not $500 anymore, it's $350. Latias is not $250 anymore, it's $200. All these cards that were in the hundreds have gone down. So overall, with Surging Sparks, I guess more relevant information is just generally hype has died down, prices of cards have gone down. But also, I think, a lot of people, and especially me, I thought this was going to reach 300 but it never really did. It reached around 270, which I guess is sort of close. But it does show that at this price point, you can see how quickly a downturn. This was sort of the peak, and where yeah, people were like, yeah, I don't want to buy this anymore, and things have slowed down. And we can see still sales volume is still somewhat decent, 10 to 20 boxes being sold every single day. But definitely, it's not like where it was when it was around the $200 range. Like still, 80 to 100 boxes were being sold at that time. Things have definitely slowed down quite a bit at this price point. Now, Journey Together, pretty similar to Surging Sparks, I guess, in the way that prices have not really. I guess this is it doesn't have enough evidence or data to really show, I guess, what it's really been doing, but it hasn't gone up. That's the main thing. And the reason why it hasn't gone up, for one, obviously the card prices have not done anything. They've just continued to go down, so the set value and everything isn't really there. But just at this price point, look at the sales volume comparatively to all the past releases we've seen previously. The sales volume isn't that high. I mean, for the brand new set that's only a couple weeks old, I mean, 30 to 40 boxes being sold at this price point is not that strong to me. I feel like in this bull market, newly released sets for booster boxes, we should be seeing more than 20 or like 30 to 40 booster boxes being sold at this price point. It's just people don't think, or I mean, it's still 30 to 40 boxes. I can't say it's not a good amount of sales, but it does show that at this price, especially hasn't been going up, people don't believe that this product is really worth any more than this. I mean, at this point, I feel like a couple weeks after, we should have seen some prices maybe start to move up, but there's no evidence of that. I think at this price point, people think it's fairly valued, and some people might think it's overvalued, which is why sales volume is not extremely high. Continue to see card prices go down, and just in generally, just Journey Together really isn't moving. Now, using this buyer fatigue and this information that I've showed you, using it with Destin Rivals, you got to think about it. So far in the Scarlet Violet era, we have not seen a booster box this expensive, right? And obviously, this is probably going to go higher by the time this gets released. It's going to maybe go in the 300s, 400s, whatever. You got to think about, okay, if this does reach, let's say theoretically $400, how many people are going to be willing to buy it at that price point? So before you decide to buy this at whatever price, 300, 350, whatever you want, you buy it at, or eventually buy it, you got to think about that factor. Are people gonna buy this? And on pre-order, the situation is very different because people, obviously it's like FOMO and everything. I mean, we see literally like people buying the ETBs at 160. Like, that's crazy, right? 160 for a normal ETB, that's definitely FOMO. Like, come on. But you got to think about realistically when the market opens up for this product and the set actually gets officially released. The mass majority of the people, are they going to be willing to pay $400, $300 for this newly released booster box? Or are people going to back off? And a big part of this that I guess is important with buyer fatigue is the amount of flippers we're seeing, right? If you have buyer fatigue setting in and people aren't buying at, let's say, by the time this gets released, let's say it's like 400. If no one's buying and people buy at maybe 250, 300 and they can't sell for 400, that's when the prices start to drop drastically. That's when we see people start flooding the market, selling everything because they're scared that the prices are going to keep dropping and they want to, sell their stuff before it hits the bottom. And that's where it's really important to consider buyer fatigue, because if it does set in and these booster boxes are $400, well, you might have some crazy price drops. And I've always talked about it with this set. This could possibly, depending on what this goes to, if it goes to a crazy price like 400, this might be the set where it drops the most in price for a booster box. Because honestly, recently, we really haven't seen that. Surging Sparks only dropped like $10. Journey Together dropped around $40, which is still like a decent amount. But Destin Rivals, depending on how high it does go on pre-order and how crazy it goes, we could see price drops we've never seen before. So just want to talk about buyer fatigue in this video because it's a real thing. People aren't just willing to pay any sort of amount because it's hyped. There's definitely price points that people say, okay, I'm not going to buy as much, or things start to cool off. And we see that with even the most hyped up things so far, like Prismatic. So just want to show this information just to use that with Destin Rivals, that people, even if prices do get crazy on pre-order, when this actually does come out, that's when the real information comes in, and that's what we will see if buyer fatigue will set in at those prices. So that's all I want to talk about. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.